Hey everybody, Mike B here with another episode of Rifles of the World. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of my personal favorites, as you probably have seen in my other videos. It's the French MAS 36. So this rifle, like its name, was adopted by the French military in 1936. It's arguably one of the last bolt-action rifles, if not the last bolt-action rifle to be adopted by a modern military. Everybody went to semi-automatics shortly thereafter. This thing is really cool. It fires a really powerful yet not super overpowered 7.5 by 54 millimeter, which is equivalent to about a little bit more than a 308 or 7.6251 cartridge in power and kind of reliability, or not reliability, but what the hell am I going to say? The handling of it. The feel is about like a 308. And in fact, a lot of these were actually rechambered by Century Arms when they were imported to 7.62 by 51 or 308. Some people said they worked, some people said they didn't. I don't have one. This one's in the original caliber. Ammunition can be found. It's made commercially by, I think PPU makes it, and I don't know about any other companies, but yeah, anyway, so this rifle is really cool. Its service length was probably from about 1936 to, we'll say the mid-1950s when it got phased out by the MAS 4956. This rifle served in World War II. When the Germans invaded France in 1940 in May, these did work on the German military. For all you idiots that say, oh, never fired, only dropped once. Yeah, well, you need to learn your history, and that's really not even just funny anymore. It's just dumb. It makes you sound like an idiot. These things worked really well. Of course, you're not going to be able to defeat military like Germany in those situations, especially when your leadership's not good. But that's a whole other debate. Anyway, these things were used in World War II against the Germans, and with these, in conjunction with the rest of the weapons, inflicted 140,000 German casualties in just a couple weeks. So I think that's pretty good. What's really interesting about this is you can see right away that this bolt handle is curved forward, so it kind of looks weird. You might be asking, why the hell would they do that? It's not just for looks, it's actually a functional thing. So what's cool about this action is they tried to make it so it was a lot shorter so they could shorten up the overall length of the rifle itself, make it more compact and still retain the firepower necessary. So what they did is, I'll pull this up, is instead of having the locking lugs for the bolt in the front, usually up there, you see the front of the bolt's smooth, doesn't have any locking lugs on it, they decided to put it in the rear of the receiver, right? This doesn't impact the integrity and the strength of the design. Actually, the action's pretty damn strong. And what happened when they did that and they put the locking lugs in the rear of the receiver is it ended up making the bolt handle, if it were straight, to be sticking behind the trigger, which is a no-no aesthetically on a bolt gun if you want to actually cycle it rather quickly. So what they did is they said, well, it's a good design in itself. The action is a great design. How can we circumvent this? And they said, well, why don't we just bend the bolt forward? So they did, and they kind of bent it outward a little bit, you can see. So it's actually really easy to grab, and if you're not really paying attention to it, it's just like working on the other bolt gun, and it's super fast, and I personally like it. I'll try to put a link to my other video of me shooting this a few years ago, really fast and stuff, in the description, and you can go ahead and watch that and see why I like these. So then we go down, and it's got a 5-round integral box magazine, followed by a full stock and handguard. Then we get to the end where we've got the spike bayonet right in here. I am not going to take that out. You can see that on the shooting video if you want at the end. But anyway, so the FG-42, the German paratrooper gun machine, or light machine gun / rifle, the FG-42, actually ripped that design off because it was really good. So you got a little spike bayonet in there. Simple V-notch front sight. You can see, hopefully, if this thing will focus. Yep. In there, and then it's got the big shroud over it, the big hood. World War II, or pre-World War II, and I think shortly thereafter produced, are just going to have fins on the side. The top will be open, so just imagine the globe is cut off and there's just 2 fins protecting. That's the World War II front sight protector will look like. The rear sights are the same. It's a leaf graduated up to 1,200 meters. So you can see it's an aperture, or maybe you can't see. It's an aperture sight, right? And I doubt it's going to focus. It's kind of a weird angle. All right. Anyway, so what's cool about these is you don't see any adjustments for windage or anything like that, like anything you see on like American weapons or even British weapons sometimes have that. And the front sight does not move. So how would you adjust this? Well, one of the cool things about this particular firearm is that this leaf, this little rear sight leaf with the aperture on it, is removable. So what they do is they go out and they zero these weapons, and they get, you know, the shooter to be able to shoot a consistent group and figure out where it was impacting. And they actually made different sight leaves with different placement of the aperture itself, like it would be right, left, up, or down in certain areas, to just replace the rear sight aperture and replace it with an aperture that was accurate with this particular rifle. So this one's pretty straight on forward, but I've seen some that have the aperture, like, you know, say this is middle where it's supposed to be, it's like up here. So you'd actually have to take the rifle and do that, and then it would correct itself. But it's an entirely different piece, which I thought was interesting. So they didn't take into account that each person's got a little bit different point of aim, point of impact on the zero, but I guess they had a lot of faith in their shooters. So anyway, overall length, power, reliability, accuracy, and everything, which you can see in that other video again. I love this thing. It's one of my personal favorites, and I think it's very underrated. The past few years, it's actually become more popular and therefore getting a lot harder to find, unfortunately. Not for me, because I have this and totally happy with it, but for those of you that kind of wanted to get into it, it kind of sucks. But yeah, I'll probably never, ever get rid of this rifle. This is a really sweet rifle, and it's so unique and cool, and it's a nice conversation piece for people who aren't idiots and say the whole never fired, only dropped once. Really like this thing. So yeah, that's kind of the history behind it. It was used in World War II, Algeria, Indochina, a bunch of colonial stuff, and actually through Vietnam by the Viet Cong and et cetera, et cetera. Some of the National Liberation Front people used these because they were obviously around from the French who had dropped them, and they were still very effective and powerful weapons. So that's really all I've got as a brief history, just a rundown. Just kind of wanted to show you this, going to give you an idea of what this is if you were to see it at a gun show. And then it hopefully won't be totally foreign to you. Just like it won't just look like some weird little gun that isn't worth anything. So anyway, I hope you learned something. If you liked the video, go ahead and thumbs up the video and subscribe to my channel for more cool gun related content, surplus related content, and just general history and randomness. I appreciate everyone watching. If you also click the link to my Patreon in the description, it really means a lot, guys. $1 a month gets you in. You get access to videos that aren't posted on YouTube for the public. You get access to giveaways, polls. It's more interactive and it's really fun. And it helps support the channel and keeps it going for like really cool videos like ballistic tests on helmets and stuff. And it pays for ammunition, test firing new weapons, and showing you how they work out in the field instead of just bench shooting. Requires a little bit more ammo and a little bit more money, and your support actually helps out. It helps with recording items like the recording devices that I've been using in the past few videos that I've got a lot of compliments on, that they're nicer. So anyways, just consider becoming a patron on there for even $1 a month. That would really help out. Anyways, hope you learned something. And if you want to comment or anything, go ahead and go to the Facebook page. That's on my main channel page. Go to it's Mike B on Facebook and comment on there. And we can hopefully keep it relatively mature on there. But yeah, if you want to comment, go on there and ask any questions you have. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.